Okay, welcome back. This is week 9, lesson 2. Today we're going to continue talking about emotional regulation and how we can use this as a healing modality. Quick little overview here of what we're going to talk about today. So just like we dove a little deeper into our understanding of mindfulness in lesson 1, we are also going to do that with techniques regarding emotional regulation. So emotional regulation refers to our ability to influence the emotions that we experience, when we experience them, and how we express them. In women with autoimmune conditions, learning this skill can dramatically reduce stress responses that fuel immune dysregulation. This isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about supporting the nervous system through intentional, compassionate strategies. So, chronic emotional dysregulation often stems from early trauma or ongoing stress. The brain interprets emotional overwhelm as a threat, activating the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the HPA axis, right? We've talked about before, and of course, increasing cortisol levels. So, long term, this wears down the immune tolerance and promotes inflammation in the body. Emotional storms are not just mental, they ripple through the body, especially when we're talking about autoimmune conditions. Research shows a strong link between emotional health and physical outcomes in autoimmune disease. So, unregulated emotion keeps the body in a constant state of defense, right? Hyperarousal. So, by learning to regulate our emotions, we support the parasympathetic nervous system or our rest and restore mode, which allows healing to occur at a cellular level. Developed in trauma theory, the window of tolerance describes our optimal emotional range. When within it, we can think clearly and respond calmly. But outside of it, we move into that hyperarousal, which is anxiety, panic, or sometimes it's the opposite. It's the hypoarousal where we kind of shut down and you might experience like a numbness or even dissociation. But mindfulness and these regulation techniques help expand this window, allowing more space to process difficult emotions safely. Cognitive reframing involves shifting the lens through which we interpret events. For example, I'm failing can be reframed to I'm learning something new. This is not promoting toxic positivity. It's neuroscience. Reframing our thoughts reduces amygdala activation, that fight or flight response, and lowers physiological stress. So I would really encourage you to write down any negative thoughts that you might experience and consciously reframe them with some curiosity, right? We all have this inner dialogue in our head. And if you tune into yours and you start to notice it's really critical, right? I can't do this right. I'll never get ahead. I'll never get better. Whatever it is you were telling yourself, just know that your subconscious is like a sponge. It is always listening and it's absorbing this stuff. So we really have to be proactive in how we are reframing our thoughts. So if, the thought is, I'm not getting any better, remind yourself that's not true. I am healing myself every day. I'm making progress every day, right? If the thought is, nothing works out for me, reframing it of I am continuing to find my way. I won't give up. This is teaching me resilience. Grounding, another great technique, just brings us back to the present when our nervous system feels overwhelmed. It can be sensory, such as touching something textured or naming things that we see, or it can be movement based, like walking barefoot or stretching. It can also be breath-based grounding, which helps shift us from the sympathetic to parasympathetic states, right? So just being really mindful in the way that you're breathing and doing it from the diaphragm. But all of these tools are vital when emotion kind of tries to hijack us and our ability to think clearly. So that's why I'd really encourage you to practice all of these skills, mindfulness, emotional regulation, grounding. Do them when you're not feeling dysregulated, in the shower, before you go to bed, just midday break. Because the more that you can practice them when you're feeling kind of okay, the easier it will be for you to draw on these techniques when you really need them. So another great emotional regulation skill is self-soothing. And self-soothing practices can do a lot of different things. They can mimic the comforting signals we might get from another person. They can make us just feel kind of safe and warm and fuzzy in our own bodies. So some examples might be anything that brings you comfort, right? It's literally something that soothes you. So maybe that's holding a warm mug of tea, or curling up with a weighted blanket, or just repeating some soothing affirmations to yourself. These techniques help to support the vagus nerve, which is an integral part of our immune health, right? We've talked a lot about that. So over time, self-soothing helps to rewire neural pathways for safety and calm, which of course is really key to healing chronic stress and chronic illness. So let's talk about how you can use these regulation skills in your everyday life. Let's say you receive a harsh email from a coworker. So you start to feel like your chest tighten and your heart races. Maybe you get a weird feeling in your stomach. But instead of reacting, you pause and you place a hand on your heart and you take 3 deep grounding breaths and you remind yourself that I'm safe in this moment. This creates a shift, not just emotionally, but physiologically. It causes your nervous system to move out of threat mode, right? It helps you feel centered in the moment and know, even though you're experiencing some discomfort from this email, right, you're not actually in danger. You're okay. You are in control of your body. So in lesson 1 of this week, we talked a lot about mindfulness, and mindfulness allows us to notice emotions as they rise. We're kind of building on that now with emotional regulation techniques, and these techniques are what gives us choices about how to respond to the emotions we're noticing. Together, they offer a powerful framework for resilience. So think of mindfulness as the observer and emotional regulation as the responder. And practicing both allows us to disengage from that trauma-driven pattern of fight or flight, react immediately, right? And instead actively supports our healing and our ability to, one, better understand what we're feeling, and to evaluate how we want to respond rather than react, right? And doing so in a way that feels safe and in control. It's a really unique shift in our mindsets when we're able to do that. So studies have found that emotional regulation is linked to decreased hospitalizations, improved immune function, and reduced symptom severity. Those are all really significant findings. One example was a study published in Brain Behavior and Immunity, which showed that emotional regulation training reduced inflammatory cytokines in lupus patients. So these are not just coping tools. These are medical interventions rooted in neuroscience. Okay, so let's talk about how you can commit to this week. Just choose one regulation strategy to try each day this week, right? We also talked about doing this with mindfulness. So this is just continuing to build on those skills. And when you're practicing the emotional regulation, again, be curious with what works for you. Maybe it's reframing a stressful thought, or grounding through your senses, or some self-soothing with something that just makes you feel calm and comforted. Bonus points if you can track what triggered you, what technique you used, and how your body responded. This is really vital, and it's going to help you build your personal emotional toolkit, right? This is more about getting to know you. What triggers you? How do you handle it? What makes it better? It's really important work. as you know, healing is not linear. There will be days that feel really overwhelming, and that is totally okay. Your work is not to avoid pain, but to learn how to be with it safely. And that is such a different way of responding to pain when we have experienced a lot of chronic trauma and stress, right? We immediately go to that hyperactivation or that complete shutdown. But when you can learn to sit with uncomfortableness and sit with pain and be in control of it, right? And still be present in the moment, not hijacked by these past experiences, that is a whole new way of functioning in the world, in how you are talking to yourself, and how your body reacts in those moments. So I would encourage you to maybe even use this mantra or come up with one that works for you. But I can be with myself even when it's hard. I think that is a really great place to start because you have, and you are even better equipped to do that now. So just remember, your presence is the medicine your body has been asking for, right? You have it. It's there. You just have to practice it. And to help you practice that, of course, there is a worksheet for this lesson, which will help you understand your emotional patterns and recognize your kind of window of tolerance that we talked about, and how to apply these emotional regulation skills in your daily life. So, again, thanks for joining me. I hope you learned a lot, and I will look forward to seeing you in our last lesson of this week, lesson 3. See you soon.